France is bracing itself for one of the biggest child abuse trials in its history, with a surgeon accused of sexually abusing hundreds of children. Joel Le Scouarnec has been charged with the rape or sexual assault of 299 patients over a 25-year period, in a case that's raised serious questions over child protection in France. A warning, this report by our Europe correspondent Adam Parsons contains descriptions of sexual abuse and references to suicide.
Adorable.
For Roland and Morissette, grief and anger are entwined with their pursuit of justice. Their grandson Matisse was just a little boy, 10 years old, when he was taken to hospital with stomach pains. The family was met by this man, a doctor, Joel Le Scouarnec, now accused of being the worst child abuser in French history, often assaulting children as they were under anaesthetic.
He told us that they needed to keep Matisse under observation in hospital overnight, and that if anything urgent happened, we would be alerted.
Le Scouarnec told the family to leave Matisse in his care and to go home. That night, he allegedly abused the boy as he lay in bed. His grandparents still have the discharge paper signed by Le Scouarnec. He is accused of assaulting and often raping 299 people, mostly children, over the course of 25 years. It's claimed he wrote down the details of all these crimes in diaries later found at his house. Many victims were unaware they'd been attacked until told by the police years later.
There was a knock at the door. Mathis was alone. He'd already started using drugs, so initially he thought he might be in trouble. But when they left having told him, and they shut that door, Mathis was alone again, and I think it was at that moment that his world came crashing in around him, and he had flashbacks.
Matisse changed. Roland says these are the before and after photos. A happy child who then turned in on himself. The trauma was too much for Matisse. Addled with addictions, he took his own life in 2021, aged 24. Le Scouarnec had worked at more than a dozen hospitals, mostly in Brittany. The average age of his alleged victims was just 11. Every year, Le Scouarnec would write in his diary the words, "I am a paedophile and I'm proud of it." He was finally caught in 2017 when the 6-year-old daughter of his neighbours said he'd sexually assaulted her while she was in the back garden. This is the house where Joel Le Scouarnec lived in Jonzac. When police went inside, what they discovered were child-sized dolls, some of them chained up, hundreds of thousands of indecent images, and also diaries and notebooks where he'd recorded his own acts of abuse. This woman was one of his victims. She was just 10 when she was allegedly raped by the surgeon. Marie, that isn't her real name, was treated by Le Scouarnec in a hospital in Vannes for acute appendicitis.
When I heard that I was among the alleged victims, I told myself, that's the missing jigsaw piece to my life. He took my childhood, my life as a woman. I don't have a normal life today like everyone else. I was shocked. I couldn't understand it. But then I began to make a connection between this and many of the problems I'd experienced, especially regarding my issue with intimacy and relationships with men.
Marie is now a mother with 3 children of her own. She says she's not scared of facing Le Scouarnec in court.
I try to find words without anger. I think this man is a predator. He's a predator of children. He destroyed my life and destroyed the lives of so many children. And this man's place is in prison, and he needs to stay there. He's dangerous. He cannot be allowed to touch or be near any children.
Le Scouarnec is already in prison, convicted in 2020 of raping 4 young girls, including 2 of his own nieces. But he could have been stopped so much sooner. Nearly 20 years ago, a tip-off from the FBI led to him being convicted of sharing and downloading child pornography, but he only got a suspended sentence. A doctor from this hospital in Campale raised his fears, querying how Le Scouarnec could be allowed to treat children, but a medical tribunal kept him on, a decision that allowed him to continue abusing children.
It's unacceptable that this man was given 30 years of immunity and behaved like a serial killer, amassing a huge number of victims, using his place of work as a hunting ground.
Do you think he's a monster?
Is he a monster? Yes, we can call him that, but it's an understatement. He is a man who 24/7 has just one thing on his mind, and that is abusing young children.
Le Scouarnec will go on trial in Vannes, but the courtroom here is far too small for everyone who needs to attend. Instead, a converted university building. There's a space for all 299 of the alleged victims to watch on a big screen at what will be France's and possibly Europe's biggest ever child abuse trial. And there may be yet more victims. Some of Le Scouarnec's diaries disappeared. For the 4 months of this trial, he will answer for the deeds of his past. The people allegedly abused by a surgeon when they were small children, now returning as adults to confront him in court. Adam Parsons, Sky News, Vannes in Brittany.